Tonight, our speaker is Jim. Please give Jim a welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim, and I am an alcoholic. And man, am I glad to see you people. You know, here we are at a nice historic pandemic meeting, and it's a privilege to be here. You know, I got set up. Somebody set me up to speak this month, and I said yes. You know, I always say yes when Alcoholics Anonymous calls. You know, I want to stay engaged in this process instead of thinking that somebody else will do it or whatever. I paid a rough price for my seat at AA. I got to stick to a format because I had an MRI done, and it turns out I got like 2 brain cells left, and they're both waving goodbye to each other. So if I don't tell my story from beginning to end, then I'm really going to get distracted. But I grew up in a household in Hartford, Connecticut. That's where I'm from, one of the garden spots of the world, with my mother, who was a certified man-hater, and my older sister, who's a triple Scorpio, prison guard. And my mother used to say stuff like, all men are pigs. And I'd say, wow, thanks a lot, Ma. And she'd say, oh, not you, honey. You'll never be a man. And, you know, I was a really skinny, shy, introverted, scary little kid. And, you know, I was living in an estrogen-charged household, and both my mother and my sister liked really bad boys. You know, if your name was Snake, you know, you'd probably be sitting on the front porch by the time I got home. And, you know, I just wasn't that way at all. And I couldn't wait to go to school. I couldn't wait to get out of the house because I don't belong there. You know, school will be better. It'll be an escape. And, you know, after about a week there, I realized that this ain't going to work. But if I hang in there, you know, someday I got to get out of here too. And, you know, I was just filled with fear. I was filled with fear about everything, you know, the teachers and the other students. And, you know, I knew the kid sitting in the front with the glasses and the pocket protector, that he would be all right. But I just couldn't learn the way that they were teaching me. You know, I was more of a, you got to sit down and take 5 minutes and explain things to me, and then I might say, oh, okay, now I get it. And but what happened, though, throughout my school career was that, you know, I would take a state aptitude test, and I would score really high on a state aptitude test, which was always followed by a trip down to the guidance counselor, who would say something to the effect that, well, obviously you have the potential. What we need to do is motivate you, and through a process of application, bring up your grade level. Now, get out of here. And I always walked out of there thinking, like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, motivation, application. Can you make me give a shit? Because quite frankly, I don't. And when I was about 8 years old, I had a Polish-Russian immigrant stepfather come into my life. And he married my mom, and now he was the new silverback gorilla in the household. And one of the things that this guy would do is on weekends that he would sit at the kitchen table and he would make himself a highball. Just on Saturdays, though. And, you know, I, as a kid, I was not interested in anything at all. You know, I didn't play sports. I didn't do anything, you know. But I remember walking by the table and watching this guy make a highball. And I remember I stopped dead in my tracks. And, you know, I took an interest in that process. How much whiskey do you put in a glass? How much ginger ale you put in a glass? How many ice cubes? Do you stir it to the left? Do you stir it to the right? And a couple days later, I had an occasion to be home from school, and I was by myself, and a commercial came on TV. And just like that, I said, I think I'll fix myself a drink. No idea to this day where that thought came from. But I immediately jumped up, went to the pantry, grabbed a bottle of Fleischmann's, sat down and made myself a highball. It was perfect. I got up to make myself a second one, and this hard-working guy who never came home during the day was walking through the front door. And, of course, I scrambled to hide the bottle, and, you know, he comes into the living room where I'm feigning illness on the couch and says, you been drinking my whiskey? I'm like, no. You know, drinking and lying went hand in hand, and like right from the first 2 seconds, you know. But he had a surefire cure what he was going to do to prevent me from ever drinking his whiskey again. And later that day, he sat me down at the kitchen table, and he produced a fresh half pint of Fleischmann's whiskey and started pouring me shot after shot, which I proceeded to drink. You want to drink? I'll show you how to drink. Now, in his mind, he thought that I would probably start crying, raise my hands, and say I surrender, I'm going to AA. But I didn't. I ended up drinking the whole half pint. And he was pissed, and I was determined, and it was kind of like, all right, just get out of here. So that was my first drunk. I made it through the first 8 years of my life with white knuckle sobriety, and then I got some relief. Short time later in school, I heard that if you mix aspirin inside a bottle of Coca-Cola and you drink it down real quick, you get high from doing that. Now, I was not an athletic child by any means whatsoever, but nobody beat me home from school that day. And I tried it. I was disappointed with that process. And then I also heard if you smoke banana peels, you get high from smoking banana peels. And I just mentioned that because in retrospect, I was just an addict, alcoholic, waiting to happen. You know what I mean? There was one thing in this world that put me on a collision course with God and Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was called birth. And I just stayed that way for a while. And then when I was 11 years old, I started smoking cigarettes. I also started smoking cigarettes and sniffing glue on a daily basis and engaging in sexual activity. And all these things I could do on my own. And the thing that seemed to differ between me and a lot of the other kids that sniffed glue was that if they got caught by a parent, teacher, cop, or something like that, that was usually pretty much the end of it. I got caught by all of the above, and it just had no effect on me. If you went out in your tool shed, it was nothing to find me out there with a bag over my face, or in your basement or something like that. And I don't think there's a direct correlation, but right about the time I'm sniffing glue every day, I do stay back a year in school. So I repeated the 7th grade. And, I just continued on like that. And I ended up trading in my glue bag when I was 14 years old in Hartford, Connecticut, for a bag of heroin. A buddy of mine's brother wanted our glue money so he could buy heroin. And I said, no, unless there's something in it for us. And, he ended up giving me a G shot, in this dirty tenement bathroom. And, I remember sticking my arm out and closing my eyes, turning my head. And this guy stuck a needle in my arm for me. I didn't sniff glue anymore after that. You know what I mean? I pursued, the whole heroin road kind of thing. I liked it. I was petrified to go down to that neighborhood. I was petrified of the people that lived there. I was petrified of the cops, of the drug dealers, and everything else. But the drug was the reward I got for walking through the gauntlet of fear, And I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, Franklin Avenue in Hartford. Hey, what are you looking at? And, a lot of big black Cadillacs, pockets full of money and no jobs, grinder shops, food shops with 10 telephones and no food. And you just learned, you just don't ask questions, man. You just kind of, go about your business and whatever. But, they all hated junkies, man. They all hated them, And that's what I was. When I was 18 years old, I got arrested for possession of narcotics. I had my stepfather's last name. It ended up in a Hartford Courant. And there I was, with his last name, in jail, possession of narcotics. And, like he threw me out, get out, you bum, you piece of garbage, whatever. And when I was 18 years old, they lowered the drinking age in from Connecticut from 21 to 18. And I was tired of the peer pressure and everybody telling me wear short-sleeve shirts, you dirty junkie, that kind of thing. And I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to lop my ponytail off, because I had really long hair back then. I seen a Jimi Hendrix concert in Hartford, and I started growing my hair long. I got my ear pierced. I was wearing bell-bottom jeans with embroidery on the bottom, and I was taking drugs that I couldn't pronounce, dude. But, it was a good opportunity to get high, man. What did I care? So now I'm going to change all of that, okay? The drinking age is 18. I'm getting harassed for using drugs. I'm going to lop off my ponytail. And if you looked out my living room window when I was growing up, at the corner of Franklin Avenue and Bushnell Street, there was a bar, flashing lights. And I always had my eye on that place, man, ever since I was a little kid. So now I'm going to go in there. I got short hair. And I like it right away, okay? They got jukeboxes, women, draft beer, pool tables. Yahoo, I could learn to like this place. And except I went to put my drink down in the bar, and I woke up, and it was the next day, and I was home. And I was like, you know, even though I've been experienced with Timothy Leary and a lot of different kind of drugs and stuff, like, how does that happen? And, you know, I got up to the sound of my mother's voice saying, hey, don't be too surprised when you see your face in the mirror. And I looked in the bathroom mirror, my face is just totally covered with blood. And, you know, I'm washing my face off. And I made a decision that what I'm going to do right then and there was I'm going to back down to this bar right now and launch a full-scale investigation as to what might have happened on my face. You know, but the bartender, you know, this old guy said, I don't know, kid, you're a freaking alcoholic. I'm like, alcoholic? You got to be kidding me, man. I'm just starting my drinking career right now. And, you know, so that just continued on. I ended up putting together like over 100 detoxes, 30, 40 different long-term programs, 5 or 6 different stints in jail, a trip to a nut house one time because somebody told me that they had good food. And, you know, maybe they did, but I couldn't taste it. You know, and I wasn't doing anything that day. But, you know, the Japanese say that first the man takes the drink, then the drink takes the drink, then the drink takes the man. And that's what was happening to me. And I was finding all about the progressiveness of this disease, how it always goes from the lesser to the greater, and it never, ever, ever gets better. And I was determined to be able to find a way to drink and drug the way that I wanted to without having to deal with the consequences that went with that lifestyle. Do I always have to go to detox? Do I always have to go to jail? Do I always have to end up in rehab? Do I always have to be homeless? And the answer is, yeah, you do. And, you know, it's just a price to be paid for the life that I was trying to live. And I tried everything within, I mean, I got a GED for crying out loud. So, you know, I was prepared to get very creative and intelligent with this disease, you know. Let me just shoot a speedball on Friday night. I'll go to a bar and I'll just take Valium and drink club soda. Hey, you know what I really don't like is scotch. So if I had a case of scotch, I think I could cure myself. You know, and I really believe that, you know, that the same mind that was causing all of these problems could come up with the answer to those problems. I started coming to, I was in a rehab in like 1981, and this counselor there was pointing at a pie chart on a wall, and he said, this disease is fatal and progressive. You have it, and you are here. And he pointed to like the tail end of the chart. And, you know, I conceded in my innermost self that, you know what? All right, this guy is probably right. I am an alcoholic. I'm there at the end of the pie chart. But yet, the only thing that I want to do is drink. So you don't have to be an MIT graduate to figure out how this story ends. You know, and I had already been in enough detoxes where I didn't want to be one of them 70-year-old guys, you know, shuffling around. And so if alcohol is going to kill me, let's do it. Let's do it. And so I was walking down Franklin Avenue one day, and I seen a license plate that said Maine Vacation Land. And I thought, there it is. Eureka. There's the answer. I'm going to hitchhike to Maine and drink myself to death. And so I jumped on the highway. Later on that day, I was in Portland, Maine. And I'm drinking Old Duke wine around the clock. It costs $1.67 a quart. I could panhandle that in no time. I'm living in a big 76-pound overcoat I got with a voucher at the Salvation Army because it's a different kind of cold up there, and proceeding to drink myself to death. But I want to die on my own terms. You know, I want to die in an alley with my trusty wine bottle by my side, a couple of violins in the background, and fade off into glory. And it wasn't working out like that. I was in DTs most of the time, getting my ass beat by strangers, ass beat by cops. You know, it was pain. It was always pain, always pain, always pain, more pain, and being sick and more pain. And one Sunday morning in the delusion, what I decided to do was, I'm going to go back to Connecticut, I'm going to grab a bag of clothes, and I'm going to hitchhike out to Seattle, where I had lived for 5 years, and die with the Indians in Pioneer Square. It being a much more organic and spiritual kind of death. And but I go into DTs on a highway, and I do not recommend that. Don't ever hitchhike in DTs, okay? I was terrified. I was mortified. I had to do things like say, that's real, that's not real, those cars coming are real. You know, and I had my thumb out, and I'm trying to get a ride, and I seen a sign that said hospital next exit, And I just caved, man. I said, you know, I'm not going to make this. You know, that hospital turned out to be Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Massachusetts. And I went in there, and some very kind people sent me up to the 6th floor detox. And I didn't even have a wallet, let alone like health insurance or anything. And later on that night, you know, I had taken a shower. I was in my little striped bathrobe. I had my PJs on. I had my little smiley slippers on. And, of course, they had an AA meeting there that night. And this old guy sitting behind a wooden table. I had my cup of decaf, and I scanned the room for my soulmate. I mean, you know, what the hell? You never know, right? Who wouldn't want to be with me? And this guy, for some reason, and I can relate it directly to the terror that I was in that day, the level of fear that I was in that day, said something to the effect of, I used to drink the way that you did and live the way that you did, and I don't need to do that anymore. And it was all of a sudden this black canvas of my life. You know, that morning I was out to drink myself to death. And now, that night, I'm at an AA meeting, and suddenly this little pinprick of light came through that black canvas of my life, and I had some hope. I didn't identify it as that at the time, but, you know, I had the thought that maybe if this guy can do it, I can do it too. You know, maybe I don't have to die in an alley. Maybe I don't have to drink myself to death. Maybe recovery is possible for me as well. And then the next night they had another AA meeting there, and it was pretty much the same thing. The guy pretty much said the same stuff. You know, I used to live the way you did, drink the way you did, and I don't need to do that anymore. Well, that was started me on a course of going to Alcoholics Anonymous, to AA meetings. That was like in the early 80s, and I went on to become the North American relapse record holder. You know, again, I was determined to do this my own way. You know, but I liked AA. You know, the people were friendly here. It's a program of attraction, not promotion. And, you know, there was something indefinable in these rooms that I just felt welcome, and I liked these people. But I didn't feel like I belonged here. You know, I felt like you did, and you did, and you did, but I'm a phony, you know what I mean? I'm just, because, you know, I probably drank before I got here. I'm probably going to drink tomorrow, and if not, I'm definitely going to drink the next day. So I just couldn't commit. And plus, I was terrified that you people were somehow going to find a way to take away my right to drink. And I don't know how to live. If I'm not high or drunk, I don't know. I can't imagine life. I cannot imagine life that way. And so I spent years imagining life living under my own power. You know, I'd sit in a room and I would read these steps, and I'm like, I can't do that. You know, I can't do that. You know, and I was absolutely right. I can't do that. I can't do that under my own power and the state that I was in my carnal condition. I cannot do that. So I was absolutely right about that. But you know, people would talk about a power greater than ourselves, but if you haven't experienced it, then you don't really know what that is. You just have to believe that people believe. And so I just kept on coming. And I had a series of what we refer to as educational variety spiritual awakenings. You know, when you got nothing better to do at 3 o'clock in the morning and the birds are starting to chirp, you know, you think about the stuff that you heard at a meeting, you know, and something that somebody said. And I would roll it over in my mind over and over and like, you know, yeah, I guess that applies to me. But I just don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get from point A to point B. And I just continued on that way. And then I was living in Springfield, Mass., and I started shooting heroin again. And I thought that might be a cure for alcoholism. And, you know, now in addition to chasing down detoxes for alcohol, I'm chasing down methadone clinics, and I go back and forth, back and forth. I'm using heroin to kick an alcohol habit. I'm using alcohol to kick a heroin habit. Oh, I end up getting dosed at this place called Habit Management in Springfield, Mass. It was like a public for-hire methadone clinic. You know, if you can get health insurance, bam, they'll dose you. And so their grand opening was going to be Friday morning, and I got up really early because I thought it was going to be like a parade and a long line and stuff. And, you know, I was the first person to get dosed. at Habit Management in Springfield, Massachusetts. No applause. Well, just a little something to, to share with the grandchildren, you know what I mean? And so I did that for a long time too. But I still continued to go to meetings. I continued to go to meetings because of the attraction. And, I wanted to get this. I know I don't get it. But Alcoholics Anonymous is one of the few phenomenons that I've ever heard of in my life, where if you bring the body, continue to bring the body, the mind will eventually follow. So just by making the conscious decision, I'm going to go to an AA meeting and sitting in the chair and listening, there's a spiritual law at work that we can't really define, but that does work. You bring the body and the mind will eventually follow. That's what happened for me. And I continued to have more detoxes, more rehabs. I wasn't getting any younger through this process. And, I was aware that people like me don't have long lives. I had lost a lot of friends over the years. And one Sunday morning, I was laying in a playground in Springfield, Mass., and it was raining, and I was in DTs, and I couldn't talk. And that was the last defense that I had in this world. That was the very last thing that I could do, was talk. Maybe I can approach a stranger and you'd give me $1, or I could get a drink or whatever. But if I can't talk, then I'm just all done. And I did what any what any man would do. I made it to a payphone and I called my mother. And I begged her, I got to get off the streets. I don't know, just for a half hour, for an hour, just something. I got to get off the streets. And I needed $2 to go to the bootlegger to buy a little bottle of wine, and I couldn't talk. And she drove to Springfield from Hartford, Connecticut, and picked me up. And when she got there, she gave me $2, and I got a little half pint of wine, and we drove back. And, the first thing out of my mouth is, don't worry, you're not going to have any problem with me. And she's like, yeah, okay. And so I went and I started living in her house, in her basement. And it's not one of them nice finished basements either, with the stained glass and the pool tables. This is one of them basements that looked like it was personally decorated by Herman Munster. You got the mice running around and the cobwebs and, the little drip, drip, drip over there. And, I think I was crashed out in some little Civil War cot that I found down there. But I liked it down there, That's where I belong. Nobody comes down there. And I would go out this little hatch door and hit the streets on what I would call my habit trail. Whatever I was doing that day. If I was drinking, I was in hot pursuit. If I was going after a bag of dope, I was in hot pursuit. But I would end up back there at night. And on the nightstand next to that Civil War cot, I had a collection of books. I had a copy of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a copy of As Bill Sees It. I had a 12 and 12. I had a copy of a Bible. I had a copy of the Bible for Dummies. I had a copy of How to Have a UFO Abduction, just in case. And underneath the mattress, I had needles and spoons and ties. And behind there, I had cigarette butts and empty little nip bottles. That's what we called them. And, you could have brought a 2-year-old down there and said, hey, what do you think is going on here? And they'd say, well, he's sick, but he's looking for help. And, and that was me. I was sick and I was looking for help. And I got addicted at some point to both alcohol and heroin. And I learned as a kid on the street, you got to be a moron to mix them because you're going to drop like a rock. And quite frankly, if you're that stupid, you got it coming, pal. But now it was happening to me, so it was a different story. I'm sticking a needle in my arm and I'm asking myself, shit, how much alcohol do I have in my system? Am I drunk? Did I drink just enough to get the shakes off? If I hit this plunger, am I going to die? If I die, can I trick God into thinking that it wasn't a suicide? I mean, just the insanity. The insanity. But a thought never occurred to me, hey, why don't you just take the needle out and lay it down on the table? Everything's going to be all right. No, I hit that plunger. And sometimes I woke up on the floor. Most of the time I was okay. A couple times I woke up with ambulance attendants on top of me. And, wow, I guess I was drunk after all, huh, dude? And, but I knew on some level that it was insanity, but, all I could do is say, my God, this is sick. It's sick. What the hell is wrong with me? No, I mean, seriously, what is wrong with me? Now, in my left brain, I could look you in the eye and say, hi, I'm Jim, I'm an alcoholic. Buy me a coffee, I'll tell you all about it. So I had no problem with that. But yet I couldn't connect that lobe that says, what the hell is wrong with me with that statement that I'm an alcoholic. They just didn't connect. The whole alcoholic thing was just like some kind of little actor on a roll, just some little facade that I was going through. And I couldn't make that breakthrough. I continued that way until I got arrested again in Hartford, Connecticut. Cops found 2 bags of heroin on the ground and tried to say it was mine. Bastards. And so now, the first time I'm in jail, I'm in Sim Street Jail in Hartford. I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, uh-oh. And now I'm 40. I'm going back to jail for the same charge, and nothing in my life had changed. Nothing. Not a damn thing. I'm older. The disease has progressed. I have more detoxes, more rehabs. I'm more disgusted with myself. And I always threw them labels on myself, man. You're just weak. You're just a piece of shit, bro. You really are. And I really thought it was a moral issue, and I believed that. If I just watched more John Wayne movies, if I was just a better person, if I was just stronger, maybe I should have gone to night school. Just whatever, nothing was going to save my ass. But fortunately, I always believed in God. I always believed in God. I was, just innately, I knew that God was there. I couldn't relate to the God that you were telling me about, but I knew that God was there. I wasn't amazed the first time I seen a full moon. I wasn't amazed the first time I seen waves in the ocean. But, God is going to help good people, okay? Not guys like me. But maybe someday, if I can maybe clean myself up, take a shower, get a job, buy a car, move to Greenwich, Connecticut, certainly God would help me then, right? He would have to, because I would qualify. But the problem for me in any given day of my life is I couldn't produce a change in my life. Every change that I imagined was going to be, it's going to have to be tomorrow, or better yet, it's going to be on Monday. No. How about New Year's Day? Yeah, that's when everybody changes, And every day, a day rolled into the next day, the next month, the next year, the next decade, the next everything. And it was just all in my head, dude. And there was nothing that I could do. But I continued to come to AA meetings. I just continued to come here over and over again. And so on Thursday, January 5th, 1995, I got to go to court in Manchester, Connecticut. I hope the judge is quick because I have plans for today. I have a little agenda. I got to continue to get high here. And so I went to Hartford real quick. I got a bag of heroin. I shot that. I got a few nips of Yukon Jack, and I drank those. And then I bought 4 packs of cigarettes. And I don't know why, but I had 2 packs in my socks. I don't know where that I was coming from with that. But, and then the judge kind of said to the bailiff, him, right there, lock him up. Lock him up. And so, they pounce on me, handcuff me, those brutes, take me back, lock me up, and they bring me to the new jail. I'm in a new jail now. And I'm laying on this floor in jail, and I am furious. I'm pissed. I'm not pissed at the judge. I'm not pissed at the system. I am pissed at my inability to produce any kind of change in my life. Despite all the promises, despite everything, just nothing. And I'm angry, and I just feel this sense of coming to the end of myself. I don't even want to say one more word out of my mouth because it's a lie. I don't want to do anything. I can't trust my feelings. I can't trust my mouth. I can't trust my thoughts. I can't trust anything to produce any kind of change in my life. And I suddenly have this experience where I feel like a power going out of me and another power coming into me simultaneously. And I had not taken LSD. And I suddenly heard a voice inside of me that said, you don't have to live this way anymore, and you're going to be okay. And when I heard that word okay, I had a peace that came over me that I cannot adequately describe to anybody, really. But that mental obsession coupled with that physical compulsion that had been driving me all of my life was gone. That was the first time in my life that I did not think that a drink or a drug was going to help me. It wasn't going to make me more comfortable. It wasn't going to pass the time. It wasn't going to be a distraction. I did not want to drink or drug. That was the very first time in my life. I haven't had a drink or drug since that moment that I had that experience, by the way. And, that was over 25 years ago. And the tangible evidence in my life that that was a real experience is that it's been over 25 years ago. Because, I believed it at the time, but, I was desperately afraid that whatever that was going to leave me, that experience is going to be gone, and I'm going to go back to being what I always was. And I'm going to die in an alley with a needle in my arm or, on some dirty bathroom floor or whatever. And it's just continued to be there day after day. And that was my consciousness of the grace of God being in my life. Looking back on it now, I can see that it had always been there. It had always been there. That God always had a plan for my life. And that everything that I ever needed in this whole world came pre-packaged within me. I didn't need anything from outside. I always thought that you had to, well, maybe if I could go to a mountain in Tibet and, crawl up there and talk to some guru, maybe they could straighten me out. I didn't need any of that, because it was all inside of me. It's all inside of you. It's all inside of us. It's already there. God is much too thorough to launch us into this world without those tools and those skills that are already within us that we just need to tap into. And we tap into it by continue to seek it, by continuing to believe it. Well, I don't believe that shit, bro, but I believe it happened to that dude, That's okay. That's belief right there. That's the beginning of a belief system. That's the introduction of a thought that, you know what, really? Really? I mean, this could get better. This could happen. This could happen for me. Yeah, if you're a human. I don't believe there's any coincidences about who ends up at an AA meeting. I mean, I don't care if mom, your parents sent you here, probation officer sent you here, spouse sent you here, whatever. You're in this chair for a reason right now, right this second. I'm up here right now, right this second. It's all for a reason. We're all meant to be here right now. We're all meant to be clean and sober. That's the hardest part of my life. I know what God's will is for me. And God's will for me is that I stay sober, that I don't drink. How do I know that? Because that's the gift that He gave me. He could have done anything that day, but He gave me the gift of sobriety. He could have gave me, 100 pounds of pure gold. He could have made my hair grow back. He could have sent me a blonde with two of the biggest blue eyes. I mean, a lot of things could have happened, but, I got the gift of sobriety. And so through that little portal, by coming here, through that portal into the universe, stay sober, Jim. What do you want from me, God? What do you want me to do? I'll end world hunger, whatever. No, Jim. Stay sober. Focus on staying sober, Jim. Yeah, but what? Whatever you got to do. There's no cure for alcoholism. What I'm granted is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. My spiritual condition is my connection with my higher power. A lot of people get scared when, you talk about spiritual experiences. Because what the hell is that, man? That's some kind of nebulous freaking voodoo bullshit talk. What are you talking about, bro? And, really what we're talking about is that it's a change in thinking, a shift in consciousness that will allow you to suddenly see yourself, see others, see the world in a totally different light. It starts off slowly, like dim in the horizon, and then gets brighter and brighter the closer you get to it. And that's the thing that causes is the change, is the psychic change. And that's what everybody, that's what we all need to have produced within us, because otherwise we're just going to go with what we were born with our mentality, thinking our way out of this, or just, a lot of people are going to die, I don't know, I might die. Don't be amazed if you see me, dead drunk in front of the courthouse tomorrow at noon, I'm an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And today's peacock is tomorrow's feather duster. So, I'm certainly eligible too, I don't want to start thinking that I'm not, I almost relapsed last year. I got my 24-year chip, and I'm like, yeah, thank you, I'll see you next year for 25. And, shortly after that, I almost sniffed glue. I almost relapsed sniffing glue. And, boy, you talk about bruised pride and ego, man. I could see me coming back in the yeah, I got 24 hours. I sniffed glue yesterday. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, ego, man. Ego that is a big liar. You know what I mean? God, my ego has lied to me so many times, All right, so there's no cure. What we're granted is a daily reprieve contingent on maintenance of our spiritual condition. But how do I know what my spiritual condition really is? I can look at my bathroom mirror in the morning and just say, mirror, mirror on the wall, how's my spiritual condition? And but it's going to bounce back. Jim, I think your spiritual condition is wonderful. I've never seen a man with such a pristine spiritual condition as yourself. Oh, well, thank you. And your hair looks marvelous. Then I get out in traffic and I realize I'm the only one in Arizona that knows how to freaking drive. And then I go to Walmart and I'm like, wow, who dressed you, baby doll? You know what I mean? Like, I got an attitude, man. I'm judgmental, I'm this, I'm that. But I need those barometers. I need to see that, you know what? You got to stay right size, but right now you're way over here, you're way over there, So, I got constant tweaking all the time. I got to pray about it. And so much of my recovery has just been God saying to me, do you see how you are? No, really. Do you see how you are? Yeah, I do. And I don't necessarily need to run out and confess that to somebody. I just need to, when I'm wrong, promptly admit it. And sometimes that means tracking somebody down and promptly admitting it. And sometimes it just means admitting to God and myself, yeah, I see how I am. I don't want to be that way. That's some ugly behavior. I need to change that. I know I can't change anybody else. I can see behavior that I really don't like and say, you know what, that is really a turnoff. Lord, please help me not to be like that. I can't change you. The only thing I could do for any human being is just say, listen, I was a hopeless, helpless addict, alcoholic with over 100 detoxes and 30, 40 different long-term programs, and why I didn't die, I don't know. It is only through the grace of God, and that it's possible for anybody that seeks it, that asks for it, that looks for it. And but you got to know. You got to know to ask. If somebody doesn't tell you, seek it, ask for it, then you don't know. And I'll tell you what, my higher power is not the higher power of when I was a child. Mother Superior used to, like, I went to Catholic school when I was a kid. They hit you with a club. Mother Superior told me that someday I'm going to go blind, and now here it is, I'm older and I need glasses. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I was persecuted by churches, man. Like, God's going to throw you in hell, you little bastard. And the higher power that I have come to terms with, the one that saved me on that jail room floor that day, has been kind to me and patient with me and loving with me and gentle with me and understanding with me and never, ever, ever angry with me or hateful towards me. And that's changed my whole perception about being able to go to a higher power and just being able to say anything. And the freedom to be able to be myself. That's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted to do was just be able to be myself. And I couldn't articulate that. All I ever wanted was just love and acceptance for exactly who and what I am, without having to do this or without having to have this job or this wife or this car or whatever. I just wanted that message just one time. You know what, Jim? You're perfect just the way you are. God couldn't love you any more if you tried. It's kind of like, imagine a 2-year-old coming up to you and saying, hey, what can I do to make you love me more? And you laugh to yourself. You just smile because you had that realization that, there's absolutely nothing you can do or be or anything to make me love you more than I do right now. Yeah, but I'm not enough. You're everything that you are. You're perfect, just the way you are. And that's the way that we are, too. And, we just got to see ourselves that way sometimes and stop beating ourselves up and, stop wishing we were different. Just be yourself because everybody else is taken. Give me the time thing there. All right? Yell at me, point at me. Don't do the whole... All right, Jim, don't do the throat cut thing, though, man. That scares me. All right, that really bothers me. Okay, where was I? Hi, I'm Jim. I'm an alcoholic. I was born at a very early age. So anyway, yeah, I just keep coming to meetings. Thank God I like meetings, Pandemic, no pandemic, I don't care. I've been to meetings in blizzards. I got a stupid iPhone, and I make sure it's charged every day. Heaven forbid I miss something, right? Oh, my God, I may have missed a text or an email or a phone call. So I keep that bitch charged every day. So I got to make sure that I keep my spiritual condition charged as well. I'm not saying I go to a meeting every single day, but I'll tell you what, I go to like 3 or 4, 5 a week. Because you're my people. I connect with you, I can't go to the Elks Club and say, yeah, I'd like to be a member. And they say, well, tell us a little about yourself, Jim. Well, I once shot baby powder hoping it was heroin. They throw you out, man. They'll lock you up, bro. I can say that here, Somebody's like, yeah, well, I would have done that too, I guess, You can't go you can't tell people you got over 100 detoxes and stuff. You're like, why don't they lock you up in a straitjacket, dude, and throw you away? And, but I can say that here, because, I'm so grateful for being the North American relapse record holder. I learned a lot. I really am. I'm grateful that I was homeless. I remember being homeless and walking through the street one day and say, you know what, someday, if this ever changes, I'm going to stay grateful for toilet paper. I'm never going to lose my gratitude for toilet paper. And you know what? I do. Sometimes I stare at a roll of Charmin and smile. You know what I mean? It's just, the things that you just take for granted, that we take for granted. I'm grateful that I had that. I know what it's like to be the isolator, the guy that's sitting outside 100 feet away from everybody else smoking a cigarette and like, don't talk to me, bitch. I ain't hanging around. You know what I mean? I know that guy because I did that. I've done all of that. I know what it's like to be defensive. I know what it's like to, I don't want to make eye contact with you because I know you're an alcoholic and you're going to take away my right to drink. And, I feel less than, and I don't like to make eye contact with people because they're going to see right through me. The whole world can see right through me, And I don't care if the world sees through me today, man, because you know what they do. Hopefully I'm going to carry the light of God and they see that. So it's all good. Give me more, come on, threaten me. 1 minute? All right, quick. If you had 1 minute to say something. No, I don't want to go longer. I don't know. It's good to be here. It's an absolute privilege to be here. I am so grateful to have the grace of God in my life today. The hardest day of my life is over. The hardest part of my life is over. As long as I don't pick up a drink, I'm living in grace today. That doesn't mean that, like I'm always, sweet and mellow in la-la land constantly. I'm not. But I get my moments, a lot more moments now where I'm just like, everything clicks. I got a peace that comes over me that no matter what's going on, I can hang on to that peace. Yesterday's grace is gone. tomorrow's grace has not arrived yet, although, I'm confident that it will. And so I'm living in today's grace. And I find that, the more difficult my day is going to be, that God starts me out with sufficient grace to get through that day. And it's the same for everybody. There's absolutely nothing special about me. I don't come here with any pre-qualifiers or any special skills or anything else that somebody doesn't have. I'm just a run-of-the-mill drunk alcoholic that found the grace of God. He picked me up and didn't yell at me, wiped me off, hugged me, said, "I love you, Jim. Now go walk free." And that was that. And now what I'm going to do, and this is really awkward, so I don't recommend you try this in the beginning, but I'm just going to make some really awkward eye contact with people out there. No, don't try this unless without, you got to practice it. How we doing? We good? All right, cool. Thanks. Thank you.